Hi, this is 100 and 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we are looking at Loco Dojo VR. Loco Dojo is a fun arcade-style game filled with a bunch of mini-games that will have you doing all sorts of strange activities around the farm and the mud and on the water to solve some pretty strange problems. We had a lot of fun playing this game, and we're excited to review it for you today. In our VR Gear game reviews, we cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can make an informed decision before you try or buy one of these VR titles. Let's jump into Loco Dojo, starting first with getting up and running with the game. Loco Dojo is available on the Steam Store, the Oculus Store for the Rift. It's available in the Viveport store and is part of the Viveport Infinity subscription. It's not available for the PSVR or the Oculus Quest right now. Hopefully the game can find its way to those other platforms, but for now it's just the Steam Store, Viveport, and the Oculus stores. You can get this game for $19.99 on any one of the stores, and occasionally there's a promotion that will get you some sort of discount, but the normal price is $19.99. So for a type of game, Loco Dojo is one of those arcade-style, multiple mini-game type games that will have you stopping and starting one activity and moving on to the next to learn how to master some obscure skill. We did all sorts of crazy things in this game, lifting up pigs by their backs with hooks in our hands, or trying to get a pig to run down a pier so that we could get to the end. We did this with a carrot and a stick to motivate or to incentivize or to punish them if they didn't behave. And there was other things where we were throwing objects to knock teeth out of big heads. There's a lot of strange things, but we actually had a lot of fun playing this game. We wanted to stay in the game for a very long time, and we actually did spend a good amount of time playing a lot of the different mini games, trying to make our way through the game board to get to the end. You'll play this game from the first-person perspective, but you're also standing in a third-person perspective when you're picking which level you're going to play next. You're then placed inside of the game where you selected you'd like to play the next activity, like a little person on top of a giant game board. Then once the activity's over, you're back into the third-person perspective where you're going to pick the next activity on the game board that you'll try to master. For a theme and story, there wasn't much of a story here as much as there was a board game theme with a bunch of challenges that you had to pass to progress through the board game. The better you did at each challenge, the more points or coins you would receive as a result, and then you could move on to the next level. The main point of the game is to collect as many coins as possible and get all the points available and then move on to the next level so that you can eventually win. The controls in this game were very straightforward, and even though you were playing a lot of different game modes with a lot of different goals and objectives, it was familiar that the grips would grab things, the triggers would select things, and to throw something you would grab and then release upon throwing. The controls were very easy to learn and very easy to master. We had a lot of fun playing the games because the controls didn't get in the way. For music and sound, this game did a really great job of creating an environment that was immersive and that was responsive as you played it. When you're standing in front of the board, you'll hear some music that is appropriate for a dojo. We don't spend a lot of time in dojos, but we imagine the music we heard here would be the same you would hear in a dojo. When you're playing each one of the mini games, the music is then appropriate for that. If you are playing a level where there are farm animals, it sounds like you're at a farm, hearing banjos and all sorts of fun squealing noises from the pigs as you try to interact with them. The music and sound for this game were done very well, and it added a lot to the immersion, and we really enjoyed it. For player movement, you won't be doing much moving in this game at all. The only time you'll be moving as you're trying to ride a pig over a walking bridge that is above water in a swampy area. Other than that, all of the different mini games were played from a standing perspective. When you're looking at the board, you are standing up above it and the world will respond to your inputs. The mapping was done very well, it was accurate, there wasn't any exaggeration in the movements that you would make to cause motion sickness. The whole game is played standing except for when you're trying to ride a very obstinate pig. For motion sickness, this game doesn't have much of it at all. Because you're standing for the majority of gameplay, you're not going to feel any sort of disorientation where you see movement but you don't feel it. The only time that we felt a little bit of motion sickness, and it would have gotten a lot worse if the whole game was this way, is when we were riding on the pig. But that didn't last long. It was only one of the mini games that we played, and as a result, we didn't get motion sick because we got in and out pretty quickly, or we failed pretty quickly. Overall, motion sickness was kept to a bare minimum in this game, and we really appreciated that because nobody likes to be motion sick. For environment and immersion, this game was really great, and we wanted to stay in even longer than we did. And this all had to do with a great combination of the visuals and the audio and the type of gameplay that we were provided by the game developers. We found this game to be incredibly immersive, and we found that the audio and the visuals and the gameplay played a huge part in making this game such a wonderful experience for us as we played it. Okay, now let's look at the overall scorecard for Loco Dojo VR, starting with theme and story. For theme and story, we're giving this game an 8 out of 10. That is a really great score. This game was a lot of fun to play. While there wasn't a story, the theme was a very well done theme of a board game that allowed you to solve small mini challenges to progress through the game. We had a lot of fun playing this game, and we recommend it. The theme was strong, so an 8 out of 10 for story and theme. For controls, we're giving this game a great score of 7 out of 10. The controls were very great during gameplay, easy to pick up, easy to master. The only problem we had was when we were standing in front of the board, a question mark would come up and ask us where we wanted to land. We couldn't quite figure out how to move our character there. Outside of that, the game was great, the controls were very well done, and so a 7 out of 10 for controls. For music and sound, this game is a really great game. We're giving it a 9 out of 10. This is a very high score for music and sound, and you'll have to jump into the game to see what we're talking about. But the transition from the menus to the gameplay, the sound effects from the animals and the environment as you're playing in it, the music that's playing in the background while you're in front of the board or in the menu or in each one of these mini games is very well done, and it has a very great audio experience as you're playing. It makes the game all the more better. So a 9 out of 10 for music and sound. For player movement, we're giving this game an 8 out of 10. Even though you're standing still for the majority of the game, you can do so much from this standing position. You're able to move your hands and move objects that are at a distance by interacting with them with whatever is in your hand. And all of these movements are mapped very well from the real world into the virtual world. The only deductions here are from movements related to riding on animals when in reality, you're not feeling what it's like to ride on the animal in the real world, but you're seeing it in the virtual world, and that has some impact on, of course, motion sickness, which is the next score. For motion sickness, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. There is some potential for motion sickness in this game, but there is a very narrow opportunity to become motion sick, and as a result, this game is getting a higher score of a 7 out of 10 for motion sickness. The times that you could potentially become motion sick are when you are riding on wild, obstinate pigs through the farm. So other than that, the game is not going to make you motion sick, but a 7 out of 10, a great score for motion sickness. And finally, environment and immersion. This game is getting a really great score of an 8 out of 10 for environment and immersion. We loved being in this game. The gameplay was very well thought through. The game developers did a great job with the audio, moving from one scene to the next, having a lot of life built into each one of the characters that you interact with, each one of the puzzles you have to solve. The game was very well done, and it was incredibly immersive. We just loved this game. 8 out of 10 for environment and immersion. And now for the overall score for Loco Dojo VR is a 7.8 out of 10. This is a very good score. It's toward the top end of our score range, and we really recommend this game. You can pick this one up in the Viveport store, in the Viveport Infinity subscription, in the Steam store, and also on the Oculus store for the Rift headsets. This has been 100 and 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you can be notified tomorrow when we release another VR game review. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.